There he goes.
Westbrook does a great job of one-handed, left-handed pass.
Jr. is checked in. Warriors stay with the same five starters. And Steph Curry hitting the wing jumper. Yes, dropping in that three. Oh, Curry, a little split. Steps through it. Steph with the layup. So Steph Curry, beautiful beginning. Turnover. Pointer down. Free throw with a 3-point play. Curry right down the lane. How about that?
Good morning, everybody. Tony Jigsaw Cutillo here. Win Daily Sports. Go check them out. WinDailySports.com. Check us out. Back again. Yesterday was the first show, and let me just say, it was so much fun to interact with people on the Discord chat. Make sure you're on Discord as well. People through DMs, people on Twitter, Facebook, IG, YouTube, you name it. It was a great show. We'll review a little bit what happened yesterday. Look ahead to today's Mother's Day Classic when it comes to Major League Baseball. We'll look at some football games as well, or some football projections as well, and obviously some DFS for tonight's square off. So first of all, let me just say happy Mother's Day to everybody out there, families who's watching, all the viewers who, to their mothers, to their families, a wonderful day for all of them as well. So today's the pink day, right? Which in Major League Baseball, we'll see some pink out, which is always good. I love the pink bat, love the pink socks. We'll see how many people are wearing that. But we're going to start right off. We had a really good day yesterday. Again, I'm not going to sit here and give you guys lineups on a daily basis. You guys are going to get used to, what I kind of do. I'm a huge value guy. I love the value, love diving deep inside the game to get those values, right? And that's the most important play. That's how you win matchups. That's how you cash out. It's simple as that. So yesterday, I was on the show. We were talking about baseball. We're going to get to those lineups in a minute. But one of the guys was Joey Gallo. And again, look at the matchup. Joey Gallo goes in yesterday at 3,900. A guy was outside your core that I specifically told everybody, look at guys outside that big core, because when you were paying off for Max Scherzer, who we talked about, who had a tremendous game, right? Good call there. And if you want to add a guy like Ian Anderson in for Atlanta, then you had to grab guys outside your core under 4,000. Those guys are like Jaret Walsh, who had a good game, right? Dylan Moore, who we talked about, had a good game, giving you 12 for under 4. Joey Gallo giving you 30 for under 4. It was a Joey Gallo kind of night, I said, right? Because I looked at the matchup, and again, he's a power hitter, right? But if you can get a power hitter that's high reward, low risk, you take it every day. And Joey Gallo was that guy. So we're going to dive deep into the first games, that square off at 1 and 2 o'clock. Then we'll go with the after set. We end tonight with, obviously, you see my Philly love, right? The Phillies and the Braves. So let's get right into this and see what we got going on. Obviously, it's headlined by Jacob deGrom, right? We already know that. So Jacob deGrom and Zach Greinke will headline the matchups today, as long as they continue to be healthy when you're in warm-ups and go with first pitch. So let's bring up, like we always do, okay? We're not going to go game by game, okay? But what we will do is we'll find some gems. We'll find some values. We'll find some picks. That's what we do. That's what we want to do, right? So right away, like I said, you already see Jacob deGrom, 11,700, right? That's a big hit, but if, against a team like Arizona, you need Jacob deGrom in order to get that $11,700 number. Listen, you need 35 to 40, right? You definitely do. And again, it's not like Jacob deGrom hasn't hit it, right? I mean, if you look at it overall, I mean, you're talking 43-58, right? It's a huge game, double-digit strikeouts. Again, he needs to get that for you to feel comfortable paying that kind of money, right? If I'm paying 11.7 and he's only giving me 20, that's a fail, right? So I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I fade Jacob deGrom specifically because I'd rather go a little lower and get a guy around 10 that can give me that lucky 13 number, right? Because he does play on the Mets and they are inconsistent. And I understand that we don't worry about wins, but you have to look at the game set too. You have to look at the game culture. And Jacob deGrom, absolute stud, but you just have to be careful when you're paying up that high for Jacob, right? So even if you do, that's fine. Again, like I told you, we're going to look at some value plays to take care. But I'll tell you what, from a pitching standpoint, from the 1 and 2 o'clock games and the early games, a couple guys stand out to me. Number one is Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta, as a Philadelphia guy, seeing him couldn't hit the side of a park tractor trailer from 15 feet away. Now all of a sudden he's locating pitches. He's mixing them up. He's doing what we expected him to do. And again, he's playing on a really good Boston team. He's got a good lineup behind him. So I think Nick Pivetta is under 10,000. I think that's a good play against a Baltimore team who actually is surging a little bit, playing a little better than expectations. Obviously, just throw a no-hitter the other day, right, which is spectacular, but it's still the Baltimore Orioles, right? And you're a powerhouse like the Boston Red Sox. So, Nick Pivetta, as long as the location's good, I really think that is a good play. Now, I like Kent Miata, right? Kent Miata is one of my 2-star pitchers. I liked him in the beginning of the week. He had a decent game his first start, and I think he's going to have a decent game again. We're talking about the Detroit Lions, right? Look at those matchups against bad teams. Now, what he did with his first matchup this week against Texas, you see it right there, 8 strikeouts, right? Again, there you go. And I love when I pull these things up, and it's not that, but I love to show you guys, and I'm not spitballing, right? So here's your innings pitch, 5.1, and here's your strikeouts, that's 8. What's that? Number 13. Like I told you, it's a lucky number 13 for me, right? That's how I formulate my pitchers, is lucky number 13. And Kent Miata from Minnesota, who's playing well. Donaldson had a good game yesterday. I mean, Buxton has been playing out of his mind, even though he's been injured here and there. But when he's in, he is electric, right? And Detroit absolutely stinks. They're terrible right now. Think about that big money contract of Miggy Cabrera, man. Just see him out there struggling. I think he's batting like 162, right? It's just amazing. But that's what happens with big money contracts. And we're seeing that with Albert Pujols right now. But Kent Miata, I think, is a really good play today. If you don't want to, here's the thing. If you don't want to pay up for Jacob deGrom, what you can do is you can formulate a 1-2 punch with guys like Nick Pivetta and Kent Miata, or even Adam Wainwright. I think Adam Wainwright has a really good matchup today. Really good matchup. I really like Adam Wainwright. He's starting to really focus in on what Adam Wainwright did 4 years ago. And he's starting to really fill up the stat sheet. And he's going up against a Colorado team that has some really good bats. But again, playing home at St. Louis and going up against German Marquez, who I'm not really a big fan of. I think he's up and down. He's more of a home pitcher. Away from home, doesn't do very well. And if you look at what Adam Wainwright did on his last start against the Mets, listen, didn't have a great game, but he had, again, strikeouts. He's getting over 5 strikeouts per game. So that's the most important thing, right? The biggest problem with him in that game, he gave up 7 hits and gave up 5 runs. But before that, we're talking about 2 games where he's 30 plus. Right. So again, he's 8,000, but I'm looking at the matchup. I think he's going to get a lot of swings and misses today. He's at home on a Sunday. And again, if you don't want to pay off for Jacob deGrom and you don't want to pay off for Zach Greinke, you have to look at some lower budget pitchers that you want to put in your lineup. Now, again, if you want to go Greinke and deGrom, like we talked about yesterday when we went Scherzer, right, and we paid off for that money, and you're already starting about $21,000 low budget, we're going to go through and get you some guys, outside of your core values that you can play as well. So let's do that. And that's the pitchers. I'm looking at this going down. I mean, listen, Kyle Hendricks could be a sleepy good play right there. I think he stands out a little bit. You look at him against the Pittsburgh Pirates at home in Wrigley, Chicago, against a okay lineup when it comes to strikeouts for Pittsburgh, but again, this is for 6,900. I think this is a really good value play. If you look at his numbers, right, he is a home pitcher. Okay, he's a home pitcher. Look, on the 7th, he goes against Milwaukee. Right, he's giving you 22 for 8,100. So again, then he hits a -7. Right, so because he gives up so many hits and runs, so he is very inconsistent. That's why he's only 6,900. But if you look at the matchup, and you look at who he's playing up against, which obviously is the matchup, right? And you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you see that they are a team that struggles, that this could be a really good matchup for him. He's coming off a good win against the Dodgers, a really good team, right? Obviously, so maybe he could build on that. He put together a really nice play back-to-back against Milwaukee, which is a really good lineup as well. So I think he can handle the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I like for a sleeper matchup for pitchers, write that down. Kyle Hendricks, look at him, 6,900. I think that's a good play right there. Going down, nobody else really tickles me a little bit here. Nobody stands out. Again, no great matchups to me. So they're the guys I would look at from a pitching perspective. We'll see, how they turned out. And listen, what I'm going to do is, Adam, what's up, buddy? As always, checking in. Happy Mother's Day to your family, man. Everybody, your mom, anybody in your family's mom, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I appreciate you checking in. So what we're going to do is, because I'm going to do these streams on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to lock down Saturday and Sunday for Win Daily Sports. That's what I'm going to do. I love doing this. We're going to have some guests on from time to time. I'm going to bring you some of the Win Daily personalities onto the show, get their mind, maybe not the entire show, get them in, see, what they're thinking about as value plays. We have some tremendous content on the site. Join the Discord chat. Listen, if you're a big time player, man, the premium packages, listen, they're really good. Check them out. And not only are they good, but they do give away a free membership from time to time. They have a Sirius show every weekend on Sirius XM, which is every Saturday and Sunday from 5 to 7 at night. Check that out as well. Just go to windailysports.com. Tons of great info on that site. I'm really happy to be a part of this winning team here. So let's look at hitters, right? We talk about that. We're going to give you some who's going to be the core of the beginning games and who's going to be the value plays. Listen, Giancarlo Stanton, I talked about him yesterday. I'll continue to talk about him. He's just been ripping the cover off the ball. And he is like my Russell Westbrook in the NBA in the sense that right now I'm riding the hot hand. And what I'm doing is I'm starting with Russ, just like I want to start with Giancarlo. If he's in the lineup, I don't care who the pitcher is. And again, he faces Joe Ross. Joe Ross is not that great of a pitcher. Okay. He throws a lot of heat, and he will miss from time to time. And if he misses, Giancarlo will hit it out in the Bronx. It's simple as that. So for me, my core begins with Giancarlo Stanton. Obviously, he's an outfielder, which is good, because if you start with the outfielder, there's a ton of other outfield value that we could find down the slate. So Giancarlo for me, definitely in my core. Now, another core. So I always like the Toronto team, right? But again, going up against Zach Greinke today, not a really good matchup. No stack potential, in my opinion, for that. I actually think today could be a Yankee stack potential up against Joe Ross at home. I do. So, if you look at a guy like LeMahieu, who's at first base, third base eligible, again, I think he's a stacking option. Again, I like the Boston stacking option as well. I really do. Rafael Devers at third base at 5,200, I think gives you a really good value. We talked about Houston the other day. Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, guys are very consistent. They got a decent matchup today at home. So, we can look at them. But again, my core, let's do this. I'm going to put it for the early games. Giancarlo Stanton is going to be in my core. Okay. And again, this is another guy that I love. You're going to hear me talk about him all the time. It's Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson just does it all for the White Sox. Okay. He's a guy at the top of the lineup. He leads off. He runs, scores, hits, stolen bases, you name it. He is a stat stuffer. You hear that's a phrase a lot. Stat stuffer. Consistent point production based on value. So Tim Anderson in my core, 5,200. So he's a core player right there, right? He is an absolute core player. Now, what I like to do is I like to get two guys that are about 5,000 that are going to be in our core. And then one guy, I give it a 3-play, right? I love 3 plays. So my core each week we'll start doing is going to be a 3-play where the core will be 3 guys. Normally, it could be one guy that's priced very high, and 2 guys that are in the mid-range, or maybe 1 mid-range, 2 high guys, depending on what it is. I'm going to separate them because I want everybody to get options, right? I'm going to give you the pitchers, okay, who I think. So let's go back to the pitchers again. And this is based on me not paying off for DeGrom. Right, we're going to say we're not going to pay out for DeGrom. So again, here's I'm going to go. Not Marquise. He's a stiff. We don't want him. We're going to go Miata, and we're going to go Wainwright. For me, I'm going to go Lowe because I'm going to try to add some bats in my lineup. Now, this isn't going to be the lineup, but I'm just giving you the simple perspective that if you take these 2 guys, it's 16,000 compared to 22,000. That's $6,000 in money that's going to give you for the rest of your lineup. So we'll do that every day. I'll post it on Twitter. I'll continue to say, hey, here's my two pitchers. Here's my guys. You see me do it every week, every day on the Gambler, on Fox Sports The Gambler. I throw it out there. So for Win Daily, I want to do the same thing, a little different for the weekends. So I'll put the 2 guys that I think are my aces. Probably won't be as good as Mr. Tulak, who is unbelievable, but I will give you the core as well. So my core starts with Tim Anderson, Giancarlo Stanton. So let's go through and see who that third piece of my core will be. Okay. So again, obviously you're not really going to be able to get 3 guys over 5,000 that are bats in your lineup. Okay, because of pitching. I mean, it's obvious. That's 15,000. You're pitching for even if it's 16,000 a pitch, that's 31. You only have 20,000 left. Okay, and that's going to give you 6 positions. It's tough. So let's give a really good core. Okay, now I'll tell you what. As we do the core, we're going to go through values. And I'm going to try to fit all this in because we're going to go under an hour on all these shows. That is my goal. I love an hour. I think it's perfect. 40 minutes is probably butter, but sometimes a lot of matchups, we got to talk, right? So Nolan Arenado, under 5,000, 4,700 for me, really good value. Really, really good value. Again, I'm going to throw him in there, okay, as a value play. Okay, I really like Arenado. Again, he is at home. Okay, he's placing a pitcher who's very lackluster in Marquise. Okay, so I like him a lot. I think that for 4,700, he could be part of a core. Okay, he really could. Going down the list, who else do we have? Listen, Jesse Wenker for the Cincinnati Reds, 4,600. Okay, going up against Cleveland, going up against Hernandez, right? Hernandez is not a great pitcher. Okay, he doesn't have all the tools. And again, this is a guy who leads off in Wenker, right? Wenker leads off and he does everything. Again, multi-hit functionality, and that's important. He's consistently getting you points, even if he doesn't hit, whether it be a walk, whether it be a stolen base. He finds a way to give you something. I think that's important. There's a reason why the guy's batting 354, right? But if you look at 7-5, 12, 2, 15, now the 2 doesn't really bode well. But again, it's consistent point production. He's filling up the point total and not giving you goose eggs. That's the important part, right? 100%. So, going up against Cleveland today, I think it's a good matchup for him. Would he be a part of my core? 4,600, he very well could be. Okay. Again, depending on guys that you like and you want to extract, right? But again, my core starts with Anderson and Stanton. Arenado's a good core guy at 4,700. I'm going to put the Jesse Wenker in there for 4,600 as well. Now, let's go down a little bit, and I like to go down to the values. We brought up Nate Lowe yesterday. Nate Lowe was a pick of ours. Okay, we say, look at Nate Lowe. He could have a good game. He's very reasonably priced. What does he do? Spots off for the 12. And again, look at I try to focus everybody on these numbers, right? So when you're building your team outside your core, and outside your core is always below 4,500 to me because that's outside your core. Nate Lowe is a guy, again, 12, 14, 287. Same thing. You don't see any zeros there. And I know it's only the last 5 games, but I always look at the last 3 games as a sample size. 5 plus 2 is a bonus, right? So if you look at these guys that got a good matchup against Texas, right? Against Texas, and I take the starter and the bullpen into perspective here into consideration. And Nate Lowe, again, he exceeds last night, gives you a 12. Right? The day before that, he gives you a 14. Right? He gives you a 12 with no home runs. Think about that. 2 runs scored, 2 hits, a walk. He fills the stat sheet up. This is what's important. So again, Nate Lowe, I like Nate Lowe again today. So look at Nate Lowe outside your core. I think it's a really good matchup against Sheffield for the Texas Rangers. He's a lefty. I think Nate Lowe will be able to hit him pretty well. And again, he's filling up the stat sheet with ease. So he's a guy you want to look at. Let's see who else we have. Anybody that sticks out. Listen, Ty France is another guy going up against Kyle Dunning. Dunning's not setting the world on fire, and Ty France reasonably priced at 4,100. Again, he is another guy who fills up the stat sheet. Now, again, look at the last side, 27040. Not really setting the world on fire, right? But there was a time right there he was consistent. So again, he's multi-positional eligible, first base and second base. Is he going to be in either one of my cores, in or out? Probably not. But if you're looking for a guy that could get you a couple hits to fill up that lineup, Ty France could always be that guy. Now, let's go down and let's see if we can find some really good value for today that can be really outside your core. Remember, yesterday, Paul DeJong, right? We talked about Paul DeJong yesterday. What did he do? Double-digit fantasy points again. Huge game for DeJong. So we have to look at, and here he is right here, 3,700. And this is the values that I look at. Okay, yesterday, 28 points, right? 2 RBIs, 2 walks, double, 2 hits, run scored, 2 stolen bases. Filled up the stat sheet, man. Fill out the stat sheet. And again, it's because you're looking at, he's going up against Colorado. Remember I said, look at his average. Now it bumps up from 186 to 189, right? Nothing, right? Oh, look at that average. You got to look beyond the average. We're not playing fantasy baseball and DFS based on a guy's batting average. It's just not happening. We're looking at all the other things that he offers, right? That is the most important play, is what else does he offer? And when you look at Paul DeJong, he was a guy against Colorado that gives you the opportunity to fill up that stat sheet. Now, again, you could get a secret stack here today of Arenado and DeJong. And I think I'm going to write that down, and I think I'm going to post that. I like a sneaky stack with Arenado and DeJong. I really do. Marquise is not a great pitcher when it comes to control. All right, it's not. He's just not. So I think that's a really nice play right there. I like Paul DeJong. I'm going to put him outside in here. I'm just putting these names in here as we go, because it at least gives us an opportunity. Because I already filled out. No big deal. Remember Paul DeJong? He's another guy who I think that we can really, really get some value out of as we go. Man, I'll tell you what. One guy to look at, and he's not there yet, is Josh Bell. Josh Bell could start to really give off some really good value, right? He's inconsistent. But, again, if you look at him, he started off, and he's finally starting to come up, right? If you get him in a good matchup. Yesterday, gives you a 0. The day before, gives you 14 because he hit the home run. He's going to live and die by the home run. It's at 135. Stinks, right? When it comes to a formidable baseball player, but for fantasy purposes, for DFS purposes, if you're looking for a power bat underneath 4,000. Look at guys like Josh Bell. He's going against Domingo Germán. Okay, not a great pitcher as far as control. He's had his issues. Okay, so he's going to leave a lot of mistakes. And if Josh Bell could be disciplined to hit on one of those mistakes, all he needs is 1 home run, people. If he gives you 1 home run, set the world at 3,800. Now we may be able to find some other guys that could give you that same kind of lumber under 4,000. But Josh Bell could be a name to look at. Yesterday, we took Joey Gallo at 3,900. Same kind of player like Josh Bell. Very inconsistent from day to day because he's a power guy. But if you're able to hit on that guy at the right time, it will pay huge dividends. So Josh Bell is a guy I'm looking at today to maybe be the Joey Gallo of yesterday. And here's why, just so everybody knows why I lock in on some of these guys. Because if you look at Gallo, yesterday he was 3,900. Okay? So think about that. And I'm going to show you the secret. I'm going to give away all my secrets here, but no, I'm just kidding. Listen, 3,800 yesterday, I'm sorry, gets you 30. So what does that give Joey Gallo? A minus 100 in DraftKings. Bumps you down to 3,700. Why is that? Look at the picture. Left on left. Joey Gallo's batting 182 to left-handed pitchers. He's not a very good left-on-left guy. So that's what's telling you I'm staying away from Joey Gallo today. I'm not going left-on-left. I'll leave him where he's at, and I'm going to pivot to a guy named Josh Bell, like I mentioned earlier, to give me that kind of production. Now, let's look down. We go down a little more. I love these late $3,500, $3,200 value plays. I think it's a really good way to formulate a decent lineup. Lorenzo Kane, is another guy who stands right out to me. Again, when I'm looking at value guys, under, especially a $3,500 and under, I'm looking at 5-tool guys. And what I mean by 5-tool is they could do it all in a sense that they could hit a home run from time to time. But mainly, they're going to get walks, they're going to run scored, stolen bases, and hits, right? So Lorenzo Kane is that kind of guy, and he plays in a good Milwaukee lineup. So they're going against the Miami Marlins today. Nobody is scared of the Miami Marlins, even though the NL East is kind of up for grabs. But nobody on that staff scares me, okay, when it comes to pitching. So today, I think he has a really good lineup. Again, I butcher a ton of names, man. I do. Because there's so many in baseball, so many different. And listen, it is what it is. Sometimes you just butcher names, man. Okay? So Alcantara from Miami, I just think, for me, for my money, not somebody I'm scared of. So if I'm looking at my outside core, especially the outfield, for a guy to get me between maybe 5 to 7, 5 to 9, to give me that extra point bump, I like Lorenzo Kane as a nice little sleeper today at 3,500. So keep an eye on Lorenzo Kane. Let's see who else we can give you here. How far the money have fallen, man. Some of these guys, I swear, it's unbelievable. You look at some of these guys who their status has just been up and down. Yesterday we mentioned Josh Harrison, another 5-2 guy, right? Gives you a 0. Did nothing, right? But again, today against German, I said the same thing for Josh Bell. 3,300, multi-position eligible. You're getting a guy who's batting 305. And the reason why I say that is, remember, I'm not looking at Josh Harrison for lumber. I'm looking at Josh Harrison for a double, stolen base, and a run scored to give me that 6 or 7 points. I think for 3,300, it's low risk, high reward, especially going against a pitcher that has control issues. Same reason why I like Josh Bell. I mean, listen, there you go. I'm going to play that, okay? And I'm going to spitball a little bit as I'm going here, but the sneaky stacks right there, okay, in baseball for cheap. The sneaky stacks for cheap. So Josh Bell, 3,700. Josh Harrison, 3,300. That's 7,000 for 2 guys. And again, if you get 7,000 and each of those guys give you 7 to 10 points, that's 20 points. I think you're happy, man. I think you're happy. So I'm going to go Harrison and Bell for a sneaky stack, man. I like that a lot. I do. I like that a lot. So, going down even further, I'll look, again, Dylan Carlson, St. Louis. I'm pegging that game, right? I'm pegging that game. Dylan Carlson, huge value, 3,200. And we talked about Arenado and Jong. I'm going to go St. Louis Cardinal stack today, and I'm going to add Carlson in as well. Okay, I'm going to add Carlson in. His guy, he is no snowflakes over the past week and a half. and he's facing a really good matchup against Marquez. So at home at St. Louis again. So again, when I say these things, this is early. Make sure when the lineups come out, these guys are playing because they are known to go back and forth. They come in and out of the lineup. So Dylan Carlson for me, really good value play. I'm going to go triple stack with the Cardinals today. I'm going to go Arenado to Jong and Carlson. I think that could be a really good play. I like that. I really do. And if not, listen, Carlson for 3,200, he is an outside core player, man. That's the kind of guy that you want to look at. Outside core player, look at that all day long. All right, let's go this way. I'm going to go to the late lineups. Okay. And again, what we have this right here. We have Miata, Wainwright, looking at those two guys. You have Arenado, Tim Anderson, Giancarlo Stanton, and Jesse Wenker, right? We talked about DeJong. We talked about Dylan Carlson. We talked about Harrison and Bell. They're the kind of guys that we're looking at to formulate outside our core. So let's go back. And we're going to go to the late games. There's not many. We'll touch on them real fast. See if we can find some sneaky value in those games. And let's see. The late games got a lot here. So here we go. Just start the 4 o'clock games. There's only a couple. And then you have Philly and Atlanta tonight. So let's just go with the 4 o'clock games. And we'll look at that. And right off the bat, you look at a guy, Trevor Bauer, 10,200. For my money, was the Cy Young Award pick in the preseason. I'm still going to ride Trevor Bauer. I think, again, I talked to everybody. He goes from Cincinnati to the Dodgers. The wins are going to be more emphatic, more prevalent. He could go from easily 15 wins to 21 wins on a team like the Dodgers. So for me, against the LA Angels, who's even though they have Ohtani, even though they have Mike Trout, that lineup is up and down. So the only thing is maybe because they're playing away, you could fade Trevor Bauer a little bit. But for me, if I'm picking a guy at the beginning of the year, I'm riding him out. So for me, I'll take Trevor Bauer at 10-2. I think he's a good value play. And what I mean by value is, you're looking at DeGrom, who wants 11-7. I think you get really good production with Trevor Bauer for 10-2. You're taking guys like Tyler Glass now at 10-5, right? So to get Trevor Bauer at 10-2 for me is a bonus. So I do like that. And how about that good old Cole Ervin? How about Cole Ervin? I swear, everybody that goes to Oakland is just an absolute stud. Everybody goes to Oakland's a stud, right? I mean, they always are stud. Cole Ervin, 26, 20, 20, 35. How do you not look at Cole Ervin? Right? And again, his innings pitched plus his Ks, he's consistently over 13. Last 2 games, 17 yesterday, or I should say on the 4th, and on the 28th, we're talking 14. So he is always above that 13 mark the last 2. So listen, against Tampa Bay, he's got some really good bats on that team. Guys that know how to hit the ball in all different fields, right? So opposite field, power field, you got pull hitters, you got opposite, they go all over, whether it be ground ball, fly ball. So they have a lot of guys on that team with Nate Lowe and Austin Meadows and Joey Wendell, guys that can go all around. Okay, so it's not going to be an easy game for Cole Ervin, but for 7,000, I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, we just looked at Kyle Hendricks as maybe a sleeper at 6,900, right, going up against Pittsburgh. So if you had to go between Kyle Hendricks and Cole Ervin, I would go Cole Ervin at 7,000. I'd spend the extra couple $100, and I would go all the way up and go to Cole. So I like that a lot. So let's go through the hitters a little bit. Obviously, Mike Trout and Mookie Betts lead to the class. Again, with Fernando Tatis, look at the matchups. Again, Mike Trout against Bauer, not sure, right? Not sure. It's hard to fade studs, right? It's just one of those matchups, though, that you could go big zero, or, Mike Trout can wind up breaking off a 6-inning shutout streak and hits a home run, and he's good to go, right? So we definitely could look at that as being a scenario. I love Tatis today against Johnny Cueto. I am not sold on Johnny Cueto. Maybe 5 years ago, Johnny Cueto, but not right now. Not sold on for Johnny Cueto. So Fernando Tatis could actually hit launch sequence off of him. Actually, you could go, if you really want to stack San Diego, and go Machado and Tatis and spend that 10 grand, might not be a good play. Might not be a bad play, I should say. But I'll look at guys like more along. I like right away, I'm looking at value right in my mind to me is Corey Seeger going up against Carlos Quintana. I love that matchup. I love it. 5,000. Corey Seager to me is so underrated in DFS. Nobody talks about him enough. He's never in enough cores. I like Corey Seager a lot. I think he does it all, and he's had a really good matchup today against Carlos Quintana. So I would definitely look at Corey Seager. You see Buster Posey. I can't pay off for Buster Posey. I don't care how good a role he is on. For a catcher, I'm not spending $5,000 for a catcher. It's just not going to happen. Eric Hosmer, if you don't want to get the stack of Machado and Tatis, you want to drop down and save yourself $500, maybe you get a Tatis and Hosmer play. Maybe you get a Machado Hosmer play. So, I'm going to stack some Padres today, right? I'm going to stack some Padre lineup. So I'm going to have some Padre cores. I really like Hosmer at 4,500. Again, I'm looking solely on the pitcher. I'm not a big Johnny Cueto guy. I really think that he can be exploited. So he's a guy I'm going to look to exploit, and I'm going to look to exploit very early and often. And that's how I'm going to do it with big bats like that. Now, as we go down, I'm sure we'll find some other value as well. Okay, so Jaret Walsh is another guy that was a value play yesterday. He gave us a nice cool 12. I told you, he's a guy that can always fill up your stats. Now today, going against Trevor Bauer, he's in the same vote as Mike Trout. What do? Do you fade these guys or not, right? Adam, would you pick any fill hitters in your lineup for tonight's game? We're going to get to that in a minute, Adam. Let's get to that in a minute. Nick Pivetta doing great too. Yes, I have him. Who do you like at catcher for the main slate? Let's look at that. Let's look at that, because right now, let me get through a couple more value plays on a 4 o'clock slate. We'll go back and we'll see who, for catcher-wise, who we're looking at. Let me look at this real fast. We go down, again, another guy, Evan Longoria. I keep mentioning his name, and Brandon Belt. Right, Brandon Bell had a really good game yesterday. He's another guy like a Josh Bell. He's a power guy that you can get late. Right? If you don't want to pay up for lumber, you can get that lumber at a low risk, high reward. Guys like Brandon Bell, Josh Bell, Joey Gallo. These are the guys you want to look at, man. These are the guys you want to look at. He's going against Chris Paddock today, right? So not a great matchup, but Chris Paddock just working his way back, right? Getting healthy. So this could be a time where you want to jump on a Chris Paddock and you want to get some lumber up against them. Now they are playing in San Francisco. Balls will fly out, right? So big park too. Remember I talked about that. Look at those big parks. So you want to look at guys that are playing in San Francisco. Maybe you want to look at a guy like a Brandon. I'm sorry. Maybe you want to look at a guy that does it all, like a Brandon Crawford. I was going to say Brandon Phillips by accident, but Brandon Crawford, 4,000. Okay, he can swing it to all different fields. That's the kind of play that you may want to look at in a game like that, right? In a game like that. Here's a really good value play. Hae-Sung Kim. Again, not setting the world on fire, but Johnny Cueto is all over it. I know this guy has had consistent zeros over the past 4 games, but every now and then throws a good game. And again, if you're building your lineup or you're stacking for 2,500, if that's what you have left, man, bump a catcher up to about 35 and throw Kim in there for 25 and see what you got. Seriously, see what you got. Now, there's some questions. Let's go back and look at it's May 9th. It's May 9th. What do we talk about here? So let's go back and let's look at who we have for the main slate. We got a catcher question. So we'll go to the main slate before we start basketball. All right. So we'll go to the main slate before we start basketball. All right. We'll get this going here. Got to answer to the people, right? Got a question from the people. So we got to talk to the people here. So let's see what we got. Now, again, I'm not a huge catcher guy. It's not what I do. I don't worry about the catchers all that much. So let's go all the way through and let's look at some value catchers. Adam, talk to me. It's May 9th. LOL. I'm just trying to figure out what that means. So talk to me, man. If that's an inside joke, please let me know. So SKE40, who do you like a catcher for the main slate? Let's look at that right now. So I don't like to pay out for catchers. If I did like to pay out for catchers, obviously you're going to go with Contreras, right? Because it's a matchup against Pittsburgh that you could definitely exploit. But 5,400 for a catcher for me, oh, I don't think I could do it, man. I don't think I could do it. Again, and I'm looking at the lineups in a sense of the pitching lineups, the opposing pitchers, and you look at a guy like maybe a Carson Kelly, but he's going up against the Gomes, so you don't even want to touch that. So I'm going to go all the way down, okay, and I'm going to stay on my two games and the two pitchers I look to exploit in the early slate, and those guys are both one's named Domingo Germán, and the other one is German Marquez. Right. So I look Yadier Molina at 3,800, I think is a really good play, only because, again, Marquez is all over the place. And I think that the St. Louis will have a really good offensive day. Another guy is Yan Gomes. Okay. For Washington, 3,500 going against Germán. It's a guy for me that it could be all over the place. So if you can get him, I think it's a really good play. So I would definitely look at, in the opening slate, I'd look at Yan Gomes. Okay. I would definitely look at, again, who else do we have? See, you really have to look at, for me, it's definitely Yadier Molina and Yan Gomes. I think they're two guys. I'll see if I can get you a really good value guy here, which it's going to be hard. Sunday too. So again, catching slate is going to change probably because this is a day that a lot of guys rest, obviously. I think you guys know that. So you really have to be careful and you have to keep an eye out. Now, again, the other matchup is against Miami. We already talked about Lorenzo Kane from Milwaukee. So another guy, Jacob Nottingham, could be a guy that you throw in there. 3,400 that doesn't hurt you, right? 3,400 against a guy I'm not really convinced on that has enough control to pitch very well. So I'll give you three plays right there. Yadier Molina, because again, Marquez, I'm not sold on. Yan Gomes against Germán, who has some control issues. Okay, and I'm going to go with Nottingham against Alcantara, against Miami, a very low budget, 3,400 from Milwaukee. I think they can do some damage against them. So I'll go with those three catchers right there because, hey, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm trying to do all different things, man. I like how we look at certain positions and grab some value. Listen, I am Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. Follow me at TCutillo23, obviously at Wendelli Sports. I'm all about the value, man. I am. I love the value plays. Hit me up in the Discord chat as well with everybody else. I'm there, readily available. Again, nobody's perfect. Okay, but I do formulate these things for a reason. So I really like that three play. I think we would pick some low value catchers, man. I like that. Low value catchers. I really, really like that. So let's flip. Okay. We'll go to the final game, which is the Philly Atlanta game. Let's see if we can get a decent matchup. I'll just go to a showdown right now. So at least we can get the proper people. And again, that's a late game, right? 7:00. So we have to watch and make sure that our guys are going to play in that game. All right. So if we look at that, if you want to do a showdown lineup, okay, obviously, listen, I don't think it's any secret that, you're going Aaron Nola, right? If after last night's debacle, I think this is the game where Aaron Nola comes out and Aaron Nola just blows people away. I do. Negative for Acuna. He's day-to-day, probably won't play today. Big guy out of their lineup. Now it forces Marcell Ozuna to be somebody that he's not, and probably going to try so hard, he's going to be swinging out of his pants, right? We already know that. So, again, I think I'm going to go Philly heavy, right? I do. I think I'm going to go Philly heavy. And, I like Gene Segura, who's just been on fire for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's come back. He's been setting the world on fire. I really like what he's doing. He's another guy. He's a 5-tool player that does a lot, right? He does a lot. So he's another guy that I would look at. I like Gene Segura in that Philly lineup. Let's see if we can get any kind of decent value and Nick Maton is another guy who just seems to be coming up with big hits every now and then. He's going to be very low budget value, and you could get him very, very low, especially in your showdown lineup because you're only starting 5 guys at 5,000. That's the equivalent of like a $2,500 player in normal fantasy DFS. So Nick Maton could be a guy, but I would definitely lean towards the Phillies in this. I think that they're going to come out and it's going to be an Aaron Nola game. So, and for Lumber, I think this is going to be a JT Realmuto game. This isn't going to be a Bryce Harper game. I think this is a Realmuto game. I think Realmuto hits a home run today. I think he balls out, gives you that Lumber for that big price. So I would lean towards Realmuto, and I would lean towards Aaron Nola and Nick Maton as well. And from the Atlanta standpoint, I would look at a guy like Dansby Swanson. If I'm just going to pretend that Acuna's going to be out, Freddie Freeman, again, they're going to focus on pitching around him. Ozuna, they'll go to him all day. Ozzie Albies could be a nice play, but if you're looking at money, Dansby Swanson at 7,000, I think is a guy that you can look at in that Atlanta game and feel comfortable. So let's go, before we end this up, I want to touch on some NBA. Okay, so we're about 45 minutes here. We got 15 minutes left. Okay, we're going to go NBA. Last night, we had another great night, man. Another great night. We talked about Washington and Indiana. We talked about the Westbrook and Sabonis effect, which was unbelievable. I think combined, they had over 170 points. I talked about Alex Len, right? A really good play for Alex Len. Now, guys, I do this because I love breaking this down, right? Now, today we have 1 o'clock games, right? 1 o'clock games, in basketball. So we have a lot of games where, it's going to be interesting to get your baseball and basketball lineups in together. So let's see what we got. Early slate. Let's go. We got 6 games right here. So all 6 games. We got more than 6 games, but we're just going to go break this down easier. It's so much easier when I do it this way, right? So we could go so many different ways. So last night, let's do this. Last night, I'm going to share my screen right here. So last night, what we had was, these are the guys that we looked at right here. Okay. We looked at Malachi Flynn. All right. Who for 4,700. Really good night. We had DeAndre Bembry, because remember we had all those lineups, right, that basically had tons of injuries, right? Tons of injuries. So all we need to do is go back, and before you get your DFS lineups, I'm talking like sometimes a half hour, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Make sure you check, right? Just make sure you check, because you just never know what's going to happen, right? You just don't know, because these guys 15 minutes before, listen, Russell Westbrook last night, he was our core, 87.75, right? Sabonis, another guy, 74. It was almost like a carbon copy of the matchup the week before when it was 154, 145. So a really good play right there for both of those guys. Again, 21-5, 21-6. But listen, man, when you're going to get 87, 74, you're talking about 160 to 170 points combined for 2 players. I'll take that all day for 21,000 all day long, no doubt about it. Now, another guy we touched on was Alex Len. Talked about a sleeper, right? 3,200 for Alex Len. What does he get you? 27. So good call by us, right? We got that right. We don't get them all right, right? We don't get them all right. So we're going to look at this Toronto game, and I want to make sure I get it. So we talked about Jaron Jackson, Toronto and Memphis. Talked about Jaron Jackson as a good tweener, 5,700. What did he get you? 36.5. Really good play right there. We talked about the Raptors with all the injuries. Malachi Flynn, you see him right there, 4,700. What's he get you? 32. Really big points. DeAndre Bembry, listen, 15.75. So just round it up to 16 for 3,500. Not a terrible play, right? Not a terrible play. We also talked about Brandon Clark, 3,700, got you 15.5. Not a terrible play. Would like to see a 20. But again, really good points outside your main core. That's going to help you get to that $330, $400 mark, or 400 point total mark, which is going to allow you to cash. It's as simple as that. All right. So let's also look. Let me see what my boy Matisse did. I forgot to write him down. Okay. I forgot to write him down. There was a lot of my boy Paul Reed only gave me a 3. I predicted him to be a major sleeper, but at 3,000, you're taking a shot to win, right? You just never know what's going to happen. But for the Sixers, okay, Matisse Thybulle, again, 16 points. Like I told you, if you 3,500 to get you 16 to 20 is what Matisse is going to give you every night. And if Matisse drops down to about 32, 3,300 and gives you 15, even better, right? So they're the kind of value plays that we had last night. So let's look and see if we can get some more value plays tonight, because I know we could pick these guys out, right? We already know that we could definitely do it. So let's do it again before we get out of here. So let me bring it up. We'll bring up the, again, simple shoot around. This is the way I'm going to do this. We're going to go through 6 games right now. I'm not going to go through game by game. I'm just going to look at overall who, guys I'm looking at that I would pay up for. Okay. And I'll tell you what, Luka Doncic to me, it's I have a DTM term that Jigsaw calls it. That's called dead to me, right? There's certain guys that are on the dead to me list. When I pay up for these specific guys, what happens is they give me the snowflake. And once they do that, they're off my list. And Luka Doncic is one of those guys. Devin Booker is one of those guys. I've consistently paid up for these guys, and they've hurt me a little bit. So they're on a dead to me list. Okay, so now one guy I'll look in particular, Colin Sexton is really, really going off. Okay, but he's trickling up in that big time stud area. Even though I love me Colin Sexton, I don't know if I feel comfortable spending $9,000 on Colin Sexton. I really don't. I'm going to be honest with you. That is something that I need to look at, really. So I don't think I'd be able to pay off for him. Now, one of the games I'm looking at right off the bat, my mind goes to this Minnesota-Orlando game. Depending on who, I'm just going to click on Orlando game too, because, look at all the red. And this is already, right? This is already. We already know these injuries, right? Mo Bamba has been absolutely going off. Cole Anthony going off. Now, Mo Bamba, obviously, it all depends on Wendell Carter Jr. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play, right? But you can get some really good value plays. Really good value plays on this Orlando team. Really good, honestly. RJ Hampton, he's getting too high for me, man. He's getting too high for me. I can't pay off for RJ Hampton. I'm just not going to do it. Gary Harris is a guy I look at as a tweener guy. Now, he's starting to build up over that $4,000 mark too, but could be a decent play, right? Could be a decent play. Now, let's go Minnesota, because I want to see now Anthony Edwards, for my money, probably should be Rookie of the Year. I really like what he's been able to do. He's consistent, 35, 40 points. He's getting up there a little bit, but for today, in that game, Minnesota-Orlando, I think a lot of points will be scored in that game. It's going to be a fast-paced game, and I really like him. Now, another guy you had to look at is Sauce Vanderbilt, right? So and the reason why is, when you look at over the last 3, I should say the last 2, he's going 25 plus minutes. When Vanderbilt gets 20 plus, he's always over 20, right? So even when you see the 18, he got you 25. So in a game like this, when you're talking about 2 teams really playing for nothing and a team in Orlando that's really hurting for injury, I look at who's going to step up on the other side. And I think Vanderbilt is definitely one of those guys. So Vanderbilt, for me, a 4,100 is a good outside the core play. So I like that. So let's go back, look at them all. Let's see if we can get some value plays out of here. Again, Chris Paul, 7,800 going up against the Lakers. Chris Paul likes to shine, right? It's showtime. Right? Whenever it's showtime, I always look at those big money players. Honestly, I do. I look at the big money players, and Chris Paul to make big money under 8,000 can do it all. So I'm gonna be a big Chris Paul fan today. Okay, I like Chris Paul. I'm going to throw him in there. He's going to be, and he's not even a core player because he's 7,800. He's a mid-range player, and those are the things I'm trying to explain. You can get these guys under 8,000 that are going to give you 10,000 points, right? That's what you do. You get a guy under $8,000 to give you $10,000 production. And Chris Paul in today against Showtime against the Lakers, I think is one of those guys. Now, Delon Wright for Sacramento is really starting to build. He's finally coming alive, right? It took him some time, but now he's getting the starter minutes like he was in Detroit, and his value is climbing. Okay, climbing. In a week, he's plus 2,700 in value. 2,700 he's going up. Huge, because he's getting consistent minutes, 30 plus. And what is he doing? He's got 255-point games out of the last 3. And he's going up against Oklahoma City team that absolutely sucks. They stink. So this is a really good spot for Delon Wright. So you think about it. If you can get Delon Wright, I'm going to draft him right now just to throw him in our side. Look at those two players. You have Chris Paul and Delon Wright. 2 guys under 15,000. Essentially, both those guys give you 40 plus, right? 40 to 50. I think Chris Paul gives you 45 today. I think Delon Wright gives you another 50. That's just under 100, and you only spent 14.8. And you look at Luka Doncic, right? You look at Luka Doncic, 11,000. Right. So if he only gets you 40 or 50 for 11,000, for an extra 4,000, you just doubled that. So that's what you have to look at, in my opinion. That's what you have to look at. So I like Chris Paul and Delon Wright. I think they are 2 guys that could give you really, really good exceptional value today. So let's go. Where we at? 55. We've got about 5 minutes left. Let's look down the list. Let's see if we can find some really good values in this play today, right? Let's see if we can get outside your core. Outside your core. Let's see what we can build outside your core. So we have so many guys that build an ultimate core. I want to look at guys outside the core. I'm going to look at value guys, right? So let's see. All depending on injury, right? You have to look at certain injuries depending on, Porzingis doesn't play. Dwight Powell's always a good play, but he's starting to get up there. I like the more $3,500 level. Let's look at guys under 4,000. Okay, let's look if we can find some guys under 4,000 that could be serviceable. I'm not a big Willie Cauley-Stein guy at all. I'm looking at the matchups here. Nobody's really standing out to me at all. Honestly, nobody. Here's a secret play right here. So these are the kind of guys I look at. Brad Wanamaker to me on Charlotte. Look at his minutes. He's starting to get consistent clock, right? He's starting to get consistent clock. Now, obviously, there's a ton of injuries that happen every other day on Charlotte, right? But what's a good sign is even with LaMelo coming back, Wanamaker's getting consistent minutes. I mean, 31, 20, 21. As long as he's in those double digits in those 20s, he can produce. He's 3,300. I mean, look, 28, 16, 14. He's that Matisse Thybulle kind of player. Okay, and this is going to be a good game against New Orleans. It's going to be a run and gun kind of matchup. So I don't see 20 points out of the realm for a guy like Brad Wanamaker. So again, let's look outside the core. Outside the core. We're looking outside the core. You're looking at a guy like Brad Wanamaker. He's a guy that could definitely pay off dividends outside your core. So Brad Wanamaker, I will definitely put in as an outside the core kind of guy for 3,300. So he's a guy I will definitely look at 100%. Now let's go back and let's look at there's a couple other games that we missed here. Obviously, I want to make sure that we get on, I want to make sure that I get you guys the most value that you can get, right? So you got the Heat and the Celtics and Knicks and the Clippers. Listen, I'm looking at that Knicks and Clippers game. Let's look at that Knicks and Clippers game, right? Let's look what we can find you as far as some really good value. Now, again, right away, it's going to be who's out, right? We already know Victor's out, right? So, we already know Victor's out. He's done. But no really, injuries that are like, wow, this guy's out. So nothing yet. Obviously, you want to look at Jaylen Brown is questionable, so we'll see what that tag does close to game time. Again, they're all healthy with Kemba, Brown, and Tatum. It's really hard for me to choose one of the two top tier guys. And paying $10,000 for Tatum with the other two guys, so not really sure what I want to do with that game, especially with Jimmy buckets. But I like that New York and the Clippers game, and I'll tell you why. I'd love the value on the Knicks. I'm telling you, I am a Knick DFS whore. I am, and I know that's going to, all my new boys from Win Daily who are New York Mets guys and New York Knicks guys are going to love that statement, but I am. I look at this team and I break down the values in New York, and I love them. I do. I absolutely love them. Adam, my man, great show. Thanks, Adam. Just finishing up here, my man. And again, enjoy your Sunday. And again, check us out, as always, all week long. Check out Win Daily, man. I think you'll be excited. So, New York, I love Reggie Bullock, man. Reggie Bullock, here's the thing. So, for you who don't know, I do a Monday to Friday set. And I throw a vignette out there. It's called I Record It. It's 90 seconds. I call it the fastest 90 seconds of fantasy sports. And what I do is I profile two guys or one guy every day. And a couple weeks ago, I profiled Reggie Bullock and Taj Gibson as two DFS guys. They give you extreme value on a really good team. Number one, they check the boxes. They play consistent minutes. They have consistent point totals, and they play on a good team, which means they're always going to be in games. So they're always going to be looking to score the rock. And Reggie Bullock, for me, consistently stays under that $5,000 mark and gives you 23, 24, 25 every night. And I like that number. There's going to be nights where he may get you, he can come close to 30, maybe 33, 32. He's shown a couple weeks ago. But for the most part, you know what you're getting. You know, you're paying 45 to 4,900, and I'm giving you 25. Listen, he's a safe play. He's not going to get the snowflake. He's a safe play. So today against the Clips, I like Reggie Bullock, and I like Taj Gibson too. I'm not a New Orleans Noel guy, but Taj Gibson, what he does again, I mean, look, he fills the stat sheets up. He does. He's okay. 1 out of the last 5 in single digits. That's not awful for Dodge, but again, he's under 4,000. He's under 4,000. So you're getting a guy. Look, 3,500 got you 25. 3,100 got you 33. 3,300 got you 20. 3,200 got you 12 and a half. Listen, he's getting you double-digit points for $3,000. You can't beat it. Now he's a little price high at 3,900, but even at 3,900, I think today against the Clips in that game, I think he could push 30 in this game. I do. So I like Taj Gibson in this game. I really do. Now on the Clipper side, if you look at it, you break it down. Obviously, you got the two studs in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Again, for me personally, I would put Kawhi in my core, 8,400. Okay, I know he's been a little up and down. He hasn't given you 60, 70-point games like he was doing, but this is that kind of game against New York, even though it's home. Sometimes certain teams bring the best out of certain guys, and Kawhi Leonard, New York's playing really good ball right now. So at 8,400, I think that's actually a value. I think he's underpriced. I do. I think Kawhi Leonard is underpriced, so I would definitely look his way. And again, looking down as far as big time money value, even Terrence Mann is shooting up over 4,000. I'm not comfortable paying that. I'm really not. So that's where I'll go right there. I'm just Taj Gibson, Reggie Bullock for me. I think Kawhi Leonard is underpriced. So yeah, let's go with those guys right there. And I think we hit them all, man. I think we hit them all. We are an hour in, so let's do this. Again, I'm going to end this right now because you guys, listen, it's Sunday. It's Mother's Day. A fantastic day. You guys catch us on the YouTube channel. Catch us on the website, windailysports.com. I hope you've enjoyed this weekend, man, because I have so much more planned, so much more fun, adding videos, adding guests, adding different graphics. But check me out on the Discord chat, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. Check me out at TCutillo23 on Twitter. I'm always active. I help you guys out as much. If you want to slide in the DMs, no big deal. I'm always open. It's all good. But again, let's review the core for baseball. We got some secret stacks. Remember, for baseball with Harrison and Bell from Washington, secret low value stack. And how about the guys from the St. Louis Cardinals, Arenado, Jong, and Carlson? Again, Check it out. Go back and rewind. You have a bunch of time before the 1 o'clock tips and the 1 o'clock pitches. As always, like I say on all my shows, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. At Win Daily Sports, give us a follow. At Cutillo23, give us a follow. You will not be disappointed.